Yo, what is goody stream? So we have a White House press briefing that we got to catch, and we'll probably talk a little bit on Elon's new political party. And with all that being said, let's get started.
I think the second one's better. Because it goes back into more.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you all had a great weekend. I want to start by addressing the devastation from the tragic flash floods in Texas. Moments ago, the Department of Homeland Security provided an update that 91 innocent souls have now perished. Everyone here at the White House, including the President of the United States, is praying for the victims' families and friends during this unimaginable time. President Trump swiftly signed a major disaster declaration for Kerr County, Texas, to ensure our heroic first responders have every resource they need in the relief and recovery efforts. Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem traveled to Texas over the weekend, and the entire Trump administration is working hand in glove with state and local officials to provide every assistance available. The situation on the ground remains dangerous, and there could be additional public safety threats with potential incoming heavy rain. So we encourage everyone in the area to remain vigilant, listen to all warnings, and respond accordingly. Unfortunately, in the wake of this once-in-a-generation natural disaster, we have seen many falsehoods pushed by Democrats such as Senator Chuck Schumer and some members of the media. Blaming President Trump for these floods is a depraved lie, and it serves no purpose during this time of national mourning. Here are the facts. In the lead up to this tragic natural disaster, the National Weather Service did its job. Despite unprecedented rainfall, the National Weather Service executed timely and precise forecasts and warnings. On July 3rd, the National Weather Service office in Austin, San Antonio, Texas, conducted forecast briefings for emergency management in the morning and issued a flood watch in the early afternoon. Flash flood warnings were also issued on the night of July 3rd and in the early morning of July 4th, giving preliminary lead times of more than 3 hours before flash flooding conditions occurred. And the National Weather Service office in New Braunfels, which delivers forecasts for Austin, San Antonio, and the surrounding areas, had extra staff on duty during the storms, despite claims of the contrary. So to any person who has deliberately lied about these facts surrounding this catastrophic event, you should be deeply ashamed. At this time, the administration's focus will be giving the victims and their communities the support they deserve during these recovery efforts in this tragic time. May God bless the great people of Texas, especially the parents who have lost their children. President Trump loves you. We are praying for you, and he will be traveling to see you later this week. Moving along to some further scheduling announcements. Tonight, President Trump will host the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, for dinner, where they will discuss the positive developments taking place in the Middle East region. Tomorrow, the president will host his 6th cabinet meeting of his second term. Many of you will be invited to cover that. And on Wednesday, the president will host leaders from 5 African nations for lunch in the state dining room.
A lot of hosts.
In other news, after the historic signing on the South Lawn of the White House on the 4th of July, President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill is now the law of the land. Republicans in Congress met the once-in-a-generation moment and codified the Make America Great Again agenda into law. After this monumental achievement, no other president in modern history has worked harder and faster to fulfill their campaign promises than Donald Trump. The One Big Beautiful Bill will get the United States of America firing again on all cylinders.
Yeah, we're already passed on BBB.
It's safe to say that over the past few weeks, the president has delivered on many, many wins. For the 4th month in a row, jobs numbers beat market expectations with nearly 150,000 good jobs created in the month of June. The American economy has now added nearly 700,000 jobs since January 2025, with American-born workers accounting for all job gains. President Trump drove illegal border crossings to another historic low in the month of June, and Border Patrol once again released 0 illegal aliens into our country. The Supreme
'cause they're
Court
getting
stopped
arrested.
activist judges from imposing nationwide injunctions and cleared the way for President Trump to carry out his popular and common sense agenda. The University of Pennsylvania agreed to all of the Trump administration's demands and will now keep men out of women's sports. President Trump secured a trade deal with Vietnam, giving the United States total access to their markets. Because of President Trump's unleashing American energy dominance, gas prices are at 4-year lows. And when adjusted for inflation, gas prices are near the lowest levels we've seen in the last 20 years. NATO members agreed to raise defense spending to 5% of
You're
GDP.
right,
a
Upgrade. We
foreign
need to
policy
focus a lot
feat
more on
long thought impossible
our own
until
Federal
President
Reserve
Trump
System.
made it happen.
But
The Operation Midnight
I do
Hammer
think the floods are
obliterated
pretty important
Iran's
as well.
nuclear capabilities,
Texas is
taking out
taking a
this
beating.
imminent national
Appreciate
security
that,
threat
Upgrade.
not just to the United States, but to the entire world. The president secured a ceasefire between Israel and Iran, ending the 12-day war. The president brokered a historic peace agreement between Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Pakistan nominated President Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize in recognition of his decisive diplomatic intervention to prevent a nuclear war between India and Pakistan.
No way he
Blue-collar
gets a
wage
peace
growth
prize
has
for
seen
that.
its largest increase in nearly 60 years, and President Trump has defeated Joe Biden's inflation crisis with core inflation at the lowest level since March
Against
of
eggs.
2021. And just about all of that has happened in the last
What's
3
good,
weeks,
Woo?
and I know you all know
Woo?
it because
Mr.
you've been
Who?
very busy here
Welcome
covering
in.
it along with us. So with that, I will take your questions today as we kick off another very busy week here at the White House. We'll lead with our new media seat, Brian Glenn, who is, of course, very present in this briefing room. He's put in a lot of hours covering this president, so we're glad you finally have a seat today. Brian, go ahead.
It feels great to
All right,
sit down.
Brian,
Thank you very
take
much.
us away.
I want to go back to the hurricane. You said that President Trump is scheduled to go to Texas later this week. Can you speculate on what day and what he has plans?
Sure.
Well,
the White
after
House
the
is currently
rain.
arranging those travel plans. We hope that it will be later this week, likely on Friday, but of course we want to do it at the most appropriate time on the ground for state and local officials. We don't want to interrupt the recovery efforts, but we're planning tentatively for a Friday trip, and when that becomes final, we'll let all of you know, as we always do.
Yeah,
And you
Upgrade.
gave a little bit of reaction
It's
earlier,
person to
but the National
person,
Weather
man.
Service, the
If you
union,
can't
actually
avoid getting
publicly
brainwashed,
stated they had
then
an
it's
adequate
tough luck
staff
anyway.
on hand to forecast and predict the storm. You shared your
good,
thoughts
Serene?
earlier on how the way the left has really weaponized this to blame the deaths in Texas on Trump. Want to comment on that again?
Yeah, I just do think those comments are depraved and despicable, especially when so many Americans are mourning the loss of their children. The National Weather Service, as I said, did its job. Many experts, many meteorologists have said that. Many of you in the media, in all fairness, have said that as well. Unfortunately, not all. And many Democrat elected officials are trying to turn this into a political game, and it is not. This is a national tragedy, and the administration is treating it as such. We know the National Weather Service provided early and consistent warnings. They gave out timely flash flood alerts. There were record-breaking lead times in the lead up to this catastrophe. There is ongoing flood monitoring, and these offices were well.
You're great. Everything that she just said is great, but this is a FEMA grade disaster. This is like Hurricane Katrina level. It may not be as serious of a disaster, but flooding is still very, very bad. Imagine all the businesses in your town or whatever flood, and then nothing can open up for an indefinite amount of time. Nobody has the money to repair all that. So, I mean, really, disaster relief is going to be their best feature. Like, you guys got to get some money out there, make sure these businesses stay open, make sure Texas's economy isn't hurt. I mean, there's a lot of things we could do. Not just Trump pulling up and being like, well, I'm here with you.
Staffed. In fact, one of the offices was actually overstaffed. They had more people than they need. So any claim to the contrary is completely false, and it's just sad that people are pushing these lies.
Can you just get one more?
Sure.
Kind of a little bit of breaking news. The Department of Homeland Security is moving to end the TPS status on Honduran and Nicaraguan migrants.
Yes.
Any plans to adding additional countries that you could be targeting? Just a reaction.
Sure. Well, I won't get ahead of the Department of Homeland Security on additional countries, but as you pointed out, they did end temporary protective status for Nicaraguans and Hondurans in this country because TPS, temporary protective status, is temporary by definition. It is not meant to be a permanent path to residency or citizenship here in the United States of America. It was originally granted to Nicaraguans following a natural disaster in 1999. That doesn't sound very temporary to me. and as well as Hondurans in 1999 after the impact of Hurricane Mitch in 1998. And so this administration is doing what it promised to do. And if individuals from these countries want to come here, they have a legal pathway to do it, but temporary protective status was never meant to be permanent. The previous administration abused this status and this parole program, essentially treating it as such, and we're not going to tolerate that any further. Thank you, Brian. Megan.
Secretary Bessent said yesterday that countries will boomerang back to the April 2nd tariff level starting August 1st. Why did the president decide to have those tariffs not take effect Wednesday as originally scheduled? And then I was also wondering if you could share, obviously we saw the letters the president sent out on Japan and South Korea, but if any
these
other
countries need to
major US
prepare
trade
for the
partners are getting
tariffs.
letters
Like,
today.
Sure, yes, I can confirm. In fact, I have those letters. If you could get me the folder with the letters in them, Liz, they're right in the previous office. I have the signed letters that went out to both South Korea and Japan today. And there will be approximately 12 other countries that will receive notifications and letters directly from the President of the United States. And weeks ago, I stood at this podium and I told all of you that the President was going to create tailor-made trade plans for each and every country on this planet. And that's what this administration continues to be focused on. The president will also sign an executive order today delaying the July 9th deadline to August 1st. So the reciprocal tariff rate or these new rates that will be provided in this correspondence to these foreign leaders will be going out the door within the next month, or deals will be made. And those countries continue to negotiate with the United States. We've seen a lot of positive developments in the right
I'm sure everything's not set in stone.
But the administration, the president, and his trade team want to cut the best deals for the American people and the American worker. That's what they're focused on. And in the effort of transparency, these letters will continue to be posted to Truth Social, so you can enjoy them yourself. Go ahead.
Thanks, Caroline. Just about the visit of Prime Minister Netanyahu today, I was just wondering why that is not open to the press. Previous visits by him, we've had Oval Office press conferences.
Hey, Starstruck, thank you for the follow on Twitch. Welcome in.
Visit?
No, they're having a private dinner. There's many important matters that are obviously ongoing in the region, as you know. The utmost priority for the president right now in the Middle East is to end the war in Gaza and to return all of the hostages. Also, as you know, there was a ceasefire proposal that Israel supports that was sent to Hamas, and we hope that they will agree to this proposal. We want to see all of the hostages released. That's on the top of the president's mind, so that will be discussed, as well as the many other positive developments we've seen in the Middle East.
That should have been at the front of the meeting.
I want to go back to the trade deals. As you see, we have these beautiful letters that the president has signed. This one is to the...
I can't read it. I wish I could zoom in and read that. It's not going to be focused enough. I can kind of make it out. It's like, Dear Mr. President. That's it. That's all I can read.
President of the Republic of
Starstruck
Korea.
asked, will I take any YouTube video suggestions? Yeah, you can always try to,
and then here we also have
let me know if there's something going on. And
to the Prime Minister of
there's a chance
Japan
I may cover it on stream.
Both countries will be receiving a 25% tariff rate effective on August 1st.
Louis says the legal pathway is if you're poor and uneducated, you aren't getting in. Getting in to what?
See an end to the war in Gaza.
He's talking about
will he give guarantees
like representation legally, or I'm confused.
Of ceasefire that actually the war will end? Because this is a sticking point with Prime Minister Netanyahu, and I'm wondering if they see eye to eye on this point. And how do you see the next day? What the next day in Gaza will look like?
Look, right now the president is focused on today and to get the Hamas to agree to this ceasefire. I don't want to comment on the details of the arrangement out of respect for these negotiations, but a agreeable and appropriate ceasefire proposal has been sent to Hamas. And I can also tell you Special Envoy Witkoff intends to travel to Doha later this week, where he will continue to engage in these discussions. And the Qataris and the Egyptians have been incredibly helpful partners in mediating these negotiations and discussions to bring peace to this region and end this conflict once and for all.
Kristen. Two questions. Thank you, Caroline.
Sure.
The first question is President Trump reconsidering his plan to phase out FEMA, given what officials have said is their critical role in Texas?
Look, the president wants to ensure American citizens always have what they need during times of need. Whether that assistance comes from states or the federal government, that's a policy discussion that will continue. And the president has always said he wants states to do as much as they can, if not more. And in the case of Texas, the state and local officials are doing a tremendous job. And I know the president, Secretary Noem, and the federal government are very proud to be working with them. And the president has promised to give Texas the assistance that they need during this tragic
Yeah,
time.
look, I don't disagree.
Just one follow-up on cuts overall.
I mean, states
Over
should
the
do as
weekend,
much as they
President Trump
can,
said
as
that
well as the
Elon
federal
Musk
government.
was a train wreck.
As long as it happens, I don't
given
care
this
who pays
current
the money, you
viewpoint,
know?
Are there concerns within the White House or from the president himself over the cuts that happened under Musk while he was advising DOJ, including the National Weather
here we
Service?
go with
I think I've
Elon
already
Musk
addressed
again.
that, Kristen, and what I can tell
Every
you
interview.
is that these offices were fully staffed. The San Angelo office was fully staffed with 12 forecast meteorologists. There were no vacancies. The San Antonio office was operating with 11 forecasters. And as Brian said, the union themselves said that there was adequate staffing. So I think those words speak for themselves, and the numbers speak for themselves. This was a once-in-a-century flash flood, a tragic natural disaster, and the administration is doing all that we can on the ground to help these families during this time of need. Jeff.
Thanks very much, Caroline. Just following up on Kristen's question, is it still the president's plan to phase FEMA out by the end of this year?
I just answered Kristen's
That was
question
literally
for you.
the same
One more,
question.
hold on, one more.
Sure, I'll give it to you. Go ahead.
The follow-up on trade as well. 12 more letters coming, you said. Can you give us a sense of which countries those are?
I'll let the president reveal those in very due time. Keep your eyes on Truth Social. Michael, in the back.
Thank you, Caroline. An armed shooter today was shot in McAllen, Texas, after opening fire on Border Patrol agents. It comes just days after Democratic Congresswoman
That's a good question.
Jayapal recently said she gets, quote, inspired when activists obstruct ICE. Does the White House expect Democrats to tone down their rhetoric in light of what we saw today in McAllen, Texas?
We certainly call on Democrats to tone down their rhetoric against ICE and Border Patrol agents who, again, are everyday men and women. I would encourage AOC and other Democrats to actually meet with the United States Border Patrol. These are honorable Americans who are just simply trying to do their job to
No, I
enforce
get
the
that.
law.
I'm not saying
they go
they're
home
not.
to their families every night, just like we all do. And they
It's not the guys on the border in the Border Patrol squad that is making these decisions, dude. Nobody's hating on them. I mean, some people are hating on them, but you know what I mean? It's like not their choice. Same with the National Guard. I got a couple buddies in the National Guard, and I know that they would not have wanted to take part in that, like, regardless. But that's the type of thing you can get arrested for if you don't do your position or you leave your post. I mean, it's like your jail time or theirs. It's a bad moral dilemma.
deserve respect and dignity for trying to enforce our nation's immigration laws and to remove public safety threats from our communities. The White House is aware of the shooting that took place today in Texas, and we are working with the appropriate federal agencies to get to the bottom of what happened.
Caroline, the DOJ and FBI have now concluded there was no Jeffrey Epstein client list. What do you tell MAGA supporters who say they want anyone involved in Jeffrey Epstein's alleged crimes to be held accountable?
This administration wants anyone who has ever committed a crime to be held accountable, and I would argue this administration has done more to lock up bad guys than certainly the previous administration. And the Trump administration is committed to truth and to transparency. That's why the Attorney General and the FBI Director pledged at the President's direction to do an exhaustive review of all of the files related to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes and his death. And they put out a memo in conclusion of that review. There was material they did not release because, frankly, it was incredibly graphic and it contained child pornography, which is not something that's appropriate for public consumption. But they committed to an exhaustive investigation. That's what they did, and they provided the results of that. That's transparency.
Follow up on that,
Sure.
Caroline. Okay, so the FBI looks at the circumstances surrounding the death of Jeffrey Epstein. According to the report, this systematic review revealed no incriminating client list. So what happened to the Epstein client list that the Attorney General said she had on her desk?
So
Well,
that's
I
the
think if
client
you go
list.
back and look at what the
That
Attorney
is
General
what people
said
want
in
revealed.
that interview, which was on your network on Fox
I've
News.
got the quote.
Go ahead.
John Roberts said, DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen? And she said, it's sitting on my desk right now to review.
Yes, she was saying the entirety of all of the paperwork, all of the paper in relation to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. That's what the Attorney General
she knew
was
this question
referring
was
to,
coming.
and I'll let her speak for that.
She knew this question was coming.
When it comes to the FBI and the Department of Justice, they are more than committed to ensuring that bad people are put behind bars. They have an operation going on right now called Summer Heat, which has our murder rate trending in the lowest direction in United States
she's
history.
diverting off of the
Their
topic for
emphasis on
sure.
violent crime and locking
There's
up violent
something with that
criminals has
Epstein
led to
stuff,
the
I'm
arrest
telling
of
you.
14,000 violent criminals. That's a 62% increase from the same time period last year. So this Attorney General and the FBI Director are committed to putting bad people behind bars where they belong. They promised an exhaustive review. That's what they did. For any further details, I would refer you to the Department of Justice.
Thanks, Caroline. With Prime Minister Netanyahu visiting the White House today, yesterday the president said that he was working on a more permanent deal with Iran, but several days ago he didn't think one was necessary. What changed?
Well, when you asked me about this, or when you all asked me about this several weeks ago, I said the president thought maybe an Iran deal was not necessary, but of course the president is always interested in peace and diplomacy. That remains true, and the administration continues to be in contact, both directly and indirectly, with the Iranians on a deal.
And then on tariffs, you're now delaying the deadline from July 9th to August 1st. Is that an acknowledgement that perhaps the administration found it more difficult to negotiate these trade deals, or whatever happened to 90 deals in 90 days?
No, it's an acknowledgement that this administration is doing what's best for the American worker, and we want the best deals possible for our workers, for our manufacturing base, for our middle class, and they are doing this deliberately and appropriately on behalf of our country's interests. Josh.
A couple more on the tariffs. You said about
Good
12
answer.
more letters. There were about 55 or so countries, including the EU as a bloc, that were facing this tariff increase. All of those, to understand me correctly, are now deferred to August 1st, right?
Correct.
On the
I
12,
knew
what
that.
happens with the remaining, whatever it would be, 40
So
something?
just 12 today. There will be additional letters in the coming days.
So all of them are going to get a letter at some point?
Correct.
Okay, and can you tell me why he decided to start with South Korea and Japan? Are they...
Good
It's the
question.
president's prerogative.
Oh my
and
gosh.
Those are the countries he chose.
That's so funny.
It's our understanding that these continue to be a separate track. We're still waiting on a bunch of those.
That's right.
Is there any timing update on when he's going to move on? For
Yeah, why sent Kim Jong the first letter? That's crazy.
I don't have a
Bringing
timing
up old
update,
beef.
but for where they are in the process, I would defer you to the Department of Commerce.
Big deals, finally, as well. He announced his Vietnam deal. Are you close on any other country?
The president and the administration, yes, we are close. But again, the president wants to ensure these are the best deals possible. And I would add just one more thing on trade and tariffs to wrap it up. Look at the extensive work this president has put into cutting these good deals and doing what's right for the American worker.
Did I just
he is
see
literally
Elon and
looking at the
Kanye
map and looking
2028?
at every country
Oh,
on the planet
no.
and seeing where
What a
they are
combo.
ripping off the American people, seeing where they have hollowed out our industrial base, seeing where our jobs have gone to other countries overseas because of their tariff policies, and he's trying to correct that. So this is
call it
decades
the
of
age
bad
of
trade
EV.
policy that has led to a deficit that is ravaging our
gonna
country,
make
that
that
is
the new
ravaging our
poll.
middle class, and the president
Hold
is
on.
taking a very deliberate approach to correcting this wrong of many decades, of many past presidents. And so I think he should be commended for the time and the effort that he is putting into this. And the fact that he has announced a framework with China, a trade deal with the United Kingdom, a trade deal with Vietnam, and many others to come in just a matter of 6 months is truly historic, and it's a testament to this president and his trade team who are working around the clock to get this done. Sure, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Caroline. Two questions on Iran. What's the permanent deal with Iran looks like for the president, and what issues related to Iran should it cover? And secondly, has the president seen the interview with Iranian president, which he says that the United States president, Mr. Trump, is capable enough to guide the regions toward a peace and a brighter future, and put Israel in its place, or it gets more into conflict? Has the president seen these comments, and what's his reaction to these comments?
I'm not sure if he's seen those comments, but certainly I think it's true that the president is the right man for the job to move the direction, this region into the direction of peace and stability for the future. That's what he and his national security team are working on every day, and we've already seen historic achievements in that direction.
Follow-up?
Go ahead. In the back. Kelly, go ahead.
Great, thank
Sure.
you.
And then in front of you.
couple questions for you. First,
y'all need name tag signs.
First question on the flooding in Texas. I know there has been some concern about the timing of the alerts, knowing that they did go out, but the warnings coming out in the wee hours. So while many people were likely sleeping, can you share just details what you know about why those warnings were sent while people were likely sleeping, and then what the administration is doing to ensure that these alerts come out sooner?
Well, the alerts imminently were sent out before the flood when people were sleeping because the flood hit in the very early hours of the morning. So people were sleeping in the middle of the night when this flood came. That was an act of God. It's not the administration's fault that the flood hit when it did. But there were
All right, guys,
early
polls
and
up.
consistent warnings.
Let me
and
see them
again,
numbers.
the National
Take
Weather
your
Service
votes.
did its job. On July 2nd, there were initial notices of potential weather and flooding risks were issued. On July 3rd, escalating warnings throughout the day with a flood watch issued at 1:18 p.m. And then later at 6:10 p.m. on July 3rd, the Weather Prediction Center warned of excessive rainfall and a high likelihood of flash flooding. At 6:22 p.m. July 3rd, National Weather Center issued a hydraulic warning highlighting considerable flooding risks, including in Caryville County. And then there were the timely flash flood alerts at 11:41 p.m., 1:14 a.m., and then another flash flood emergency warning issued at 4:03 a.m. just before the flood hit. So those were all of the warnings that went out to the affected area and region. Go ahead.
One question on education funding
Go
for
ahead.
states
Thank you
and
very
local
much. I appreciate it,
districts.
Caroline. Two questions for you related to the Prime Minister's visit today. Number one, there's a report circulating that the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation provided a proposal to the White House to build these so-called humanitarian transit areas inside and outside of Gaza. The GHF is insistent it has nothing to do with that proposal. Can you shed any light on whether the White House has received such a proposal, and if so, from whom?
I'm unaware if a proposal from the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation was sent to the White House. I haven't seen it, but I can ask our National Security Council.
And also a document circulating that the White House is prepared to lift the Foreign Terrorist Organization designation from HTS, the group of President al-Shara in Syria. Can you confirm that that's taking place?
Again, I haven't heard that, or I'm not aware of that action taking place. As you know, we did lift particular sanctions on Syria, but we did leave them on for particular terrorist groups. If that has changed,
What
we
do you
will,
mean,
of course,
dude?
let you know if there's
This
a
is
change
water.
in policy, but I'm unaware of one at this time. Sure, go ahead.
Come on now.
Hi, Caroline. Thank you. Ahead of
And then you can go too, since you're so eager.
ahead of the president's meeting with Prime Minister Netanyahu today, is there a scenario where Israel has made it clear that they will not bring an end to this war until Hamas is decimated? And the president just 5 months ago suggested a potential takeover of
Yo, the
Gaza.
poll is
there a
leaning towards
situation where
Trump.
tonight the two men will change
Trump
their
and
posture,
JD Vance.
and in the scenario that Hamas turns over the
Everybody
remaining
make sure you put your
hostages,
votes in. There's only
that
33 votes.
that the war could come to a permanent end, and that they will seek that under that scenario that they would essentially try to bring this war to a permanent end beyond just that 60-day ceasefire.
Again, you're putting a hypothetical situation in the air, so I don't want to comment on that out of respect for these ongoing negotiations and discussions that are taking place. But as for the takeover of Gaza, I don't believe the president ever said that. I think he discussed a rebuilding of Gaza once this war is over. This has become an uninhabitable place for human beings, and the president has a big heart. He wants this to be a prosperous, safe part of the region where people and families can thrive, and there will be a need for a real rebuilding effort when the time
Lee
comes.
Kirby,
But right
thank you
now
for
we
the
need
sub
to
on
end this
YouTube.
war,
Welcome in.
and we need to bring all of the hostages home. The president is adamant about that.
Into the war tonight?
Look, again, I will let the president speak for himself later if he decides to comment on the details of the agreement, but out of respect for the discussions, I won't do that from the podium. Go ahead.
So Congressman Lawler and Gottheimer have introduced a bill in Congress, the Bunker Buster Act, that would allow the
I've heard of
United
this.
States to sell B-2 bombers and bunker buster bombs to Israel. Is that something the president would support?
Well, I don't know if the president's aware of the Bunker Buster Act, but I will ask him and see what his opinion on that is. I'm not sure.
Thank you.
Caroline. Thank you, Caroline. Building off of the question earlier about the shooter in Texas who targeted ICE, Axios reported today, I believe, that Democrat lawmakers were saying their constituents are calling on them to be more violent when they go to ICE facilities, including, I believe, they want them to shed blood, and that they said that Democrat lawmakers should be willing to get shot themselves. Can you
That's
respond to that?
crazy.
And do you have concerns
What?
that any of these lawmakers might act on the wishes of their constituents?
It's hard to believe anyone with morals in this country or decency would say such a thing. Obviously,
Yeah,
the
isn't that
White
kinda
House
crazy?
condemns that rhetoric, and we condemn violence of any kind. This administration is simply trying to enforce our laws, and we must be a nation of law and order. You cannot simply waltz across our border and live here illegally and expect to stay. We are going to enforce our nation's laws, and the men and women who are doing that are doing so in a respectful way. They are doing so within the confines of the law, and they are just trying to do their jobs. And we condemn any violence or any calls for violence of any kind against any American. Go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline. I wanted to ask you if...
I was not calling on you, but you can go ahead.
Oh,
It's fine.
yo, she's got a bite.
There's a lot of people in here today.
That's crazy.
I already saw the letter that the Colombian President Gustavo Petro sent him apologizing for his comments a few weeks ago, suggesting that there was an involvement from the U.S. government in an alleged coup d'etat in Colombia. And Secretary Rubio recalled the U.S. Chargé d'Affaires in Colombia. Did President Trump saw that letter, and what do you think about the comments from President Petro suggesting that the U.S. has some kind of involvement in a coup?
I'm not sure if the president has seen that letter, but I can check with him in the National Security Council. We will get you a response if you follow up with my team. We will find out for you. Sure, go ahead.
All right, looks like Kamala is catching up.
Thank you, Caroline. On two topics.
Nobody wants to
I
vote
love
for
how
Elon's
excited
party.
everyone is on Monday. Yes, Raquel, you can go after.
On two topics. First, tariffs. The president announced last night that any countries aligning themselves with the anti-American policies of BRICS will be charged with an additional 10%
What's good, Penny? What's good,
tariff.
Carol?
Can you
Welcome
tell us
in.
more details on that? What specific policies is the president talking about here? What policies should countries stay away from to avoid being subject to additional tariffs?
Sure. Well, the president feels, generally speaking, that BRICS is seeking to undermine the interests of the United States. It's the president's utmost responsibility to put the interests of the United States first. That's how he views his job as president. So he's going to ensure that America is fairly treated on the world stage, and he'll take any action necessary to prevent countries from taking advantage of the United States and our people. Raquel, go ahead.
On illegal immigrants, Orders Tom Homan told us this morning that ICE will have to arrest 7,000 illegal immigrants every day for the remainder of this administration to just catch the ones that were let in during the last administration. I'm wondering what the new resources and manpower, of course, given by the Big Beautiful Bill, which of course opens the door for ICE
This
to hire
whole,
additional
every time Trump
10,000
comes into
agents
discussion,
and
they
officers.
roast
What's
the last
administration's
administration.
expectations now for daily arrest numbers going forward in the upcoming months?
Sure. I'll let the Secretary of Homeland Security and her department speak on what they're looking for in terms
That's
of
what I thought
daily
she'd
numbers.
say.
What I can tell you is I receive the daily reports each morning,
Oh,
and
and
ICE
says
is
hi
out
from
there
Germany.
doing the
Welcome
jobs
in.
that they swore an oath to do, and they are removing public safety threats from our communities every day, and our country is becoming a safer place because of their efforts. And the One Big Beautiful Bill that is now law will give significant resources to ICE and Border Patrol to continue the tremendous work that they are already doing.
Speaking
and I think every
of,
American
right
who
after
wants
this
to
chat,
live in a safe
we're about to
neighborhood
look
should
at
be
the
grateful for their
latest
efforts.
ICE involvement,
Thank you, Caroline.
Just
so much.
Raquel,
the park
Raquel,
one.
and then I can go to you.
So much.
And then you, Dr. Harper.
Thank you, Caroline. It's a follow-up on the BRICS question. So does President Trump believe that the BRICS are getting stronger or trying to isolate the United States? And how close is he monitoring this summit that is taking place in Brazil right now?
He's closely monitoring it, which is why he put out a statement himself. He does not perceive these countries as growing stronger. He just perceives them as trying to undermine the United States' interests, and that's not okay with him, no matter how strong or weak a country may be. Go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
Yes.
As promised, yes, go
Thank
ahead.
you. Thank you. Does Trump have a vision for post-war Gaza? You mentioned, he's talking about now the ceasefire, but does he support permanent or temporary Israeli presence in the Gaza Strip? Does he continue to see a continued role for the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation to continue to operate in the Gaza Strip?
Well, as you know, because we've talked about it before, the president has directed aid to be moved into the region, and that has been taking place. You've actually seen people in the Gaza Strip yelling out, "Thank you,
Chat,
Trump,"
y'all keep saying
for the
this
aid
duck
and for
face.
the
It's
meals
so
that they have
funny.
received, because the previous administration
I didn't
never
see it
did
till y'all
that for
started
some
mentioning
reason. But this president, again, wants to see peace and stability in the region. So as I outlined previously,
Yo, y'all
he
are
views
crazy.
this part of the region as having a real chance at being peaceful and prosperous. But again, we need to end this war. We need to get all the hostages home, and Hamas needs to accept this
Alex,
proposal.
appreciate the sub on
in order
YouTube,
to
my
do
man.
that.
Welcome
Dr.
in.
Harper, go ahead.
I'm Dr. Anthony Harper with the Intermountain Christian University. Thank you for taking my questions. Given the nature of the Palestinian Authority, with their pay to slay, teaching Jew hatred to children, corrupt leaders, and no elections for 19 years,
Chat, y'all love her.
Who does President Trump support to govern Area
She's
A
wifey
and
material.
Area B to prevent Hamas
If she doesn't come
from
home and talk
ruling?
about politics,
And
you know what I'm
is President
saying?
Trump's position on Israeli sovereignty?
Sure. Well, the president believes Israel, of course, has a right to defend itself. As for the first part of your question, you're getting ahead, Dr. Harper. As I told you, the president wants Hamas to accept this proposal right now. He wants to see peace in this region, and he's committed to doing that. Sean.
Hey, Caroline, can you just please walk us through the decision to halt the supply of weapons to Ukraine at a time when Russia is really hitting Ukrainian cities and civilians? Was
Sure.
that the president who decided that, or did the Pentagon do it without his approval?
No, neither of those things are true. I'm happy to walk you through it. This was a standard
here we go.
review by the Pentagon of all weapons and all aid and all support that the United States is providing all countries and all regions around the world, not just Ukraine. When the Secretary of Defense took office, he directed the Pentagon to conduct this review to ensure that everything that's going out the door aligns with America's interests. So it's a pause to review to ensure that everything the Pentagon is pushing out there is in the best interest
Yo,
of our
Justin,
military
thank you for the sub
and
on
our men
YouTube,
and
my
women
man.
in
Welcome in.
uniform. Fran.
Caroline, 2 questions on Israel. You suggested that Hamas is the impediment currently to a ceasefire. So if not a ceasefire deal, then what does the president hope to achieve with tonight's dinner with the prime minister?
Again, you guys are getting around to a lot of hypotheticals. I don't want to get ahead of the president, but there are many other issues to discuss with Prime Minister Netanyahu tonight related to the region and just the entire world. So this will be a dinner to talk about Operation Midnight Hammer, which was incredibly successful, to talk about peace in Gaza and ending that conflict, as well as many other topics of discussion in relation to Israel and the United States.
Chat, I can't keep her on my screen. You guys are going wild with her.
Trade letters. Given the fact that the president
Can't even read
put
out some of y'all's
into
comments.
effect the tariffs on April 2nd and then put the pause into place, is the president at all concerned that these countries that are receiving the letters won't take them seriously because the deadline seems to have shifted already and may shift again?
They will take the letters seriously because they have taken the president seriously, and that's why the president's phone, I can tell you, rings off the hook from world leaders all the time who are begging him to
the poll
come
is
to a
hypothetical.
deal. And this
Like,
administration is working hard to ensure
we
those
don't-
deals are in
Elon
the best
probably
interest
isn't
of
gonna
the
run with
American
Kanye.
people. And this delay, again, is
Trump
in the
can't
best
even run
interest of
again.
the American people. And you all will
Just-
continue
it's
to
a
see
vote.
these
What would
letters
you think,
released on
guys?
the
What would you
President's
vote?
Truth Social, and we will see you all later. Thank you, guys.
If it were possible, if this was the poll, what would you vote? I'm not saying this is the 2028 election. Okay, guys, I have a good piece up next. What we're going to check out is an actual development of ICE. What park was it that they... MacArthur Park. So apparently...
Anyway.
And I haven't seen this,
that's
I just
what's going
skipped
on.
through it.
Which
There
we
is
had,
a major ICE raid that was happening at MacArthur Park. I don't know if you guys heard about this,
more
but
enticing to look
I want
at.
to get some footage in on that.
But like I said, you've got
We're gonna
more,
skip through it, though.
And when I say media, that was me being kind. You have more cell phones being held up than anything else down there, and you can see the law enforcement.
This is just the
ICE
law enforcement lining up.
You know,
They got the
maybe I'm
horses
being
out.
serious. Maybe that's the reason for the number of vans. Maybe this wasn't for the incarcerated, soon-to-be deportees. Maybe it was more for getting all these officers to the location. That might be what we're seeing here. Hang on. I'm sorry about that. I'm allergic to nonsense.
What
At
the
any rate,
fuck? Yo, who is
keep a
commentating
look.
this
We're gonna keep an
helicopter?
eye on it. There's, I don't think I'm going to miss the one person going into custody.
Yo, Yanni, appreciate the sub on
Blackhawk's
YouTube.
still
Welcome
floating
in.
around. I got him. He's coming around over the Sony
Who is
building.
this
or
guy?
whatever it is over
He's
there
so
before
funny.
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Clearly, these guys also no fan of the media, making the Sky Fox job a little, whatever. it isn't even more difficult, just putting us up at a higher altitude and yelling at us.
Come on,
because
chat.
we're not
You don't think I
close
live in
enough.
LA.
I mean,
You
too
can guess
close.
my accent.
Anyways, so at any rate, it is an
Accent.
interesting
I don't
day
hear
today
it,
down
but
here in the
you
Westlake
should.
area of Los Angeles, and we're just going to keep an eye on it probably till it dissipates. It might happen pretty quickly. I just can't see it happening quickly because of the fact that you
That
brought
lake
the
looks
equestrians
gross.
in. You got to load those guys back up, and then all these officers got to
green?
get, I guess they have their
My
buddy,
lakes look
and they
like
got to
that.
find
That
their
should
buddy
give you
and
a
make
hint.
their way back to their little buses to get to wherever they need to be. At any rate, the sweeps continue.
All right, I like the
and,
helicopter guy, but I'm trying to see more ground level. Where do we
but,
get to ground
doesn't
level?
seem like they netted much here, unless, like I said, unless it happened
Been in the
before we had
helicopter for
gotten
30
here.
minutes. Here we go. Let's see what's happening on ground level. Oh, it's only coming out of one headphone. Better fix. We're suited up. Okay, this is ground level. We're gonna get the. Okay, we're moving out now. Oh, please, whoever has the camera, please fix how it's recording sound. I hope you guys aren't listening with headphones because it's only coming out of one ear for me right now. That sucks. It's like an airplane in the back. Oh shit, dude. This is the most recent ice raid at MacArthur Park. This is after the signing of the BBB, and more allocated funds were directed towards ICE. So we're seeing a little bit more of a full force kind of raid. No, chat, not Georgia. This is still LA.
This does not make American citizens feel safe.
Is that a Luigi hat? So last protest we watched, they started shooting the people here with the rubber bullets. Oh, that's a good restaurant. There's the bullets. This is what they were shooting with last time. It's still only coming out of one ear. Is that do you guys hear it or no? Or none of you listening with headphones on?
You do not have to open the door to anyone. You may ask them to display.
Alright, politicians are showing up. This is in LA. This is LA round 2. Yeah, the Texas floods are really bad. We covered that a little bit earlier.
What are you doing to protect journalists? All the journalists have been shot, arrested, disappeared. I'm scared
Okay, here
about
comes the
my job.
questions.
What are you doing personally to protect journalists? What are you personally doing to protect journalists?
Aaron Bass, what are you gonna do?
John, are those lives gone? Are you talking about to the floods? Or are you talking about to like ice raids and stuff?
Meet your back up for a second.
Are you down by the Bearcat there? The white vehicle, we can walk that way.
She's trying to get a briefing.
All right, he's getting ready to depart. We're going to walk that way and hopefully we'll catch him.
I'm trying to get the sheriff out. The sheriff's in.
We're probably going to skip forward a little bit.
We're following them.
We're seeing her for a minute. Okay. Let's skip to where some arrests are starting to happen. She's not giving us too much information.
Yes, my comment is they need to leave, and they need to leave right now.
Oh my
They
God.
need to leave because this is unacceptable.
We can't have this. We're getting her in the car right now. Sorry, we'll sort it out.
Oh, is that who that is? Is that the that's the mayor of LA?
Here, do you any idea what's going on there? Karen Bass is a liar. Karen Bass is a liar. Karen Bass is a collaborator. Karen Bass is a liar. Liar. Liar.
Who are you talking about, Standings? Look at that. That's a sick Denali. Gone. Okay, camera skip. Now we got police showing up. Arrests are starting to happen. Of course we're gonna have a couple arrests. Got these rubber bullets strapped on everybody there. They're not playing around for this time. If you guys saw what happened the first time, I mean, I kind of get why.
Yeah, because they got overwhelmed. If you hear anything, can you text me? Okay, keep it posted.
Yo, he's bumping some good shit. Look at him getting out of here, dude. You just park in the middle of the road and just leave. Ugh. Why would you ever do that? Ah. Jeez. Trigger warning. The fuck? Okay, now we're back in the helicopter. What happened? Did somebody assault the camera guy? Like, what are you doing, Cat? What's up? What am I in Inception right now? What is going on?
Hey, what up?
What's up?
Pardon me? What are you asking? Zoom in on the vehicle?
Oh, we're back to this
Oh,
guy
I
again.
don't know.
Holy shit.
I've been trying to read it. I don't think it has any markings on it whatsoever, as far as that goes. There's some old shop numbers on the roof, but other than that, I haven't seen anything. We'll catch up. We'll scope it out. Sheriff's unit. Piscaloo. But that could just be where they're storing them, too. You know what I mean?
Like, who's he talking to? Can we hear
Right.
that guy, too?
I don't see the word sheriff, though. They usually are pretty
You trying to
proud
watch,
of that stuff.
you trying to watch the ice raids?
Oh, they
Look at
got
this
something
guy,
right there.
man.
Hang on. Let's see. What does that say? It looks like border enforcement. Homeland Security. Homeland Security.
Check this out. Look. You see the truck? You're crazy.
BTAC. I guess. Nobody said don't, so I agree, though. Probably going to Piscaloo. It's probably a good place to keep their equipment.
I don't think this shows any more arrests. I think we follow this SWAT vehicle the rest of the way. I'm going to try to find something a little bit more...
Wally.
Did they have...
Never saw Wild Robots.
We've already done that. Or no, we didn't finish this. We'll just finish this interview up then. We only got about 15 minutes left on our update
no
hour.
More DEI, no
so
more
we will finish this cabinet
weaponization.
meeting here.
We have rescinded, as I said, 200 policies.
A little bit of it.
And I could go on all day long, but we are doing everything in our power to keep America safe at your direction.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, President.
You're really doing a great job. Thank you very much. Okay, let's go.
Nice to see you, Mr. President. Well, first of all, I think what you've heard amongst this team is the leadership, because it's given us the latitude really to collaborate amongst each other, not only in this room, as Jameson mentioned, we kind of get a break for a couple of hours here, but we stay in contact actually every other day that we're working for you. And I think what that says is I was speaking to, for instance, the Farm Bureau of Texas yesterday. I'm not the Ag Secretary, but it matters to the workforce. I'm working with the other secretaries, Lutnick and McMahon, on education and the workforce investments.
For those of you that weren't here when we started this cabinet meeting, pretty much they're going around the table and everyone's kind of giving their coup de grace to Trump, who's sitting over here, and his face, I'll skip to him a lot in this. He just looks like he's asleep. It's
because as you
the
come
best
in and
thing ever.
negotiated these great repatriation of these companies and the investments, we're going to need that workforce to build back this economy. And I couldn't see that more as I've kicked off my 50-state tour. We've been in 5 states so far. We'll finish all 50 states by the end of the year. And what we're talking to is
a whole lot of glaze
the
in your
American
chat, not
workforce
gonna lie
and
to
these
you.
companies about what the market demand is.
Look at him, he's falling asleep.
That's the difference, that we finally have made that connection. What do they need? How quick do they need it? And how fast can I get these either apprenticeships toward that million that we've put that lofty goal? We've
He's
already
gotta shake
added
himself
80,000
awake.
new apprenticeships already just since January. So at the Department of Labor, that tour is kicked off, and I couldn't be more honored to be on the ground and see my colleagues that we're passing in the skies, but we're on the ground together because we're all collaborating together. One of the things that we're talking about, illegal immigration, I have put states on notice. I warned all 50 governors that if they continue to reward illegal immigration by treating unemployment benefits as a handout, they're going to lose their federal funding as well. We can no longer continue to give unemployment insurance to illegal immigrants, and so I've let those governors, and I sent out that letter last week. We also eliminated discriminatory DEI offices within the department, specifically the Office of Federal Contract Compliance Programs. Most of our federal contracts were really just to focus on DEI enforcement. We were really punishing a lot of these companies. If they weren't complying, they weren't going to have a federal contract. We've let go of that program completely. $4.4 billion in unspent COVID funds came back to the Treasury from the CARES Act. Billions were collecting dust in these coffers, in the state coffers. We've asked for that money back to return to the Department of Treasury. We saved $250 million by canceling America Last, is what I call it, foreign handouts, including funding for things like transparency and accountability for Uzbekistan cotton industry. It doesn't make sense that we're funding these foreign, and thank you to DOJ and to the government efficiency, what we have found with the fraud that we're seeing.
I mean, some of these things are so ridiculous, you can't believe it.
No, I write them down and I read them more than once.
Cotton
Like this
farmers?
county trip. Yeah, it doesn't
It
make
sounds like
sense.
a comedy sketch.
That's right. And so again, with the executive order preparing Americans for high-paying, skilled trade jobs of the future, that's our goal. The trades is where we're being focused, but all companies, we want to make sure we're on hand for that. And what I want to say is thank you to government efficiency, because you asked us, when this transitions out, will our departments and our agencies continue that government efficiency? And I think that we've surpassed that in the Department of Labor. Out of our 14,000 federal employees, 3,000 have taken the DRP, and we offered it again. So over 21% have taken that offer And we'll keep our critical workforce, MSHA, OSHA, and wage and hour, and make sure our workers stay safe. So with your leadership, Mr. President, I couldn't be more honored to serve. I know we were probably the last to know each other, but we're getting to know each other well. And the team that you have assembled is really an honor to serve with. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. You're doing great. Thank you very much. Chris, please.
Mr. President, you ran on unleashing American energy, and 100 days have shown the tremendous impacts that can arise from the unleashing you have enabled. I'll just hit a few highlights. Number one, oil, gasoline, and diesel prices are the lowest they've been in years. How does that happen in 100 days?
That's this wasn't down. It does look like JD has some eyeshadow. I'll agree.
Energy. We're not against energy. We're for it. That sends a message to the marketplace that supply is easier to grow now, and supply will be coming.
Next is Christie,
and
though.
That's already led to tremendous savings for American consumers across the country. And we need not only more affordable energy, but we need a lot more energy. I want to highlight, I think a couple of us
Why does JD look like he's contemplating the answer of the universe?
This is a new emerging critical industry that's very energy intensive. It is not acceptable for the United States to not be the leader in AI. We must win the AI race and lead in that, and that's going to take a lot more energy. If you had not won election, we would not have won the AI race.
Thinking so hard.
Full stop.
And then let's look at Trump.
Energy would not have been there to enable us to win. Reshoring of manufacturing. These trillions of dollars you let off with, it's going to come back to our country to make chips, to make steel, to make automobiles, to make artificial intelligence, to make all of these industries we've outsourced. That's only going to be possible with way more American energy. But we have that energy. We have those resources. We have those businesses. We have those capitalists. We just need to stop standing in the way of them and follow the lead you've set, which is to enable them, not to subsidize them, not to help them, to enable them to invest American money and create American jobs here. Regarding our balance of trade, the second largest export of the United States is liquefied natural gas. Second fastest. In the next few years, it'll be our largest export in our country. But yet, 18 months ago, the Biden administration had said, we're going to stop issuing permits for new LNG export terminals. That's just nuts. That's a great competitive advantage we have, huge balance of trade driver, a huge industry just coiled and ready to go. I just came back from Poland last night. They are thrilled that America's back in business again and that the rest of Europe can get off of Russian energy and can enable their own economic growth with secure, reliable, affordable energy from the United States. I also witnessed the signing ceremony for a deal between two large American businesses to build a huge nuclear power plant in northeastern Poland, the first of this design built in Europe. It'll be the first of many. I spoke with many other nations over there. They want to buy more American gas. They want to get American technology. They want to have a partnership with us. And they shared the message I delivered to Europe in my keynote remarks is that unleashing energy is the way you make your society safer, more prosperous, more free, and that these sort of over-the-top climate alarmism doesn't do anything to help the environment of our world, but it does impoverish people, it does reduce the security of your nation, and it makes you weaker. I think that's a constant message many of us around this table have brought to Europe. We want our friends in Europe standing up again and leaning in. A lot great is happening under your leadership. We're unleashing consumer products that Americans wanted to buy that Biden was making illegal. I'll be in Georgia on Friday at Renai's manufacturing plant. Tankless natural gas water heaters. Incredibly popular product. They almost became illegal. The return of common sense is incredibly welcome across this country, across the world. And back to Elon, that extra thing, we're going to deliver
comes up
all of
every
this
time
with less people, less money, less burden on the U.S. taxpayers. Not smaller departments and smaller services, better, more thoughtful services done more efficiently and smarter.
Let's go back to Sleepy Trump because
we've got to get our fiscal house in order, and you and the people around this table are making it happen. Thank you, Mr. President. I'm honored to be here.
Thank you very much. Please.
Yes, Mr. President.
He's so exhausted, bro.
You are 100%
There's a lot
correct.
of people to talk.
The border is 99.99% safe, under control. You have completely reversed the entire situation. In fact, the day before yesterday, I was down in El Paso, and those Border Patrol agents are so impacted by how you have changed things in a year. They have put up huge pictures that say, under the Biden administration, the mobs of people that were pushing through razor wire and trampling children, and the chaos and the violence that was happening at that same location, they have a picture there that says, this is what the Biden administration looks like,
Trump
and
doesn't
this
even
is what the
believe all
Trump
this ass
administration
kissing
looks
is so
like.
funny.
It's peaceful. People who do business between Mexico and America are coming through. They're doing it legally. They're following the law, and it's all because of what you've done and what you've empowered them to do. The recruitment for Border Patrol is through the roof. For ICE agents, they want to be a part of ICE because they recognize they actually get to do their jobs. I have the Coast Guard too. Coast Guard recruitment is up over 20% just in the last 60 days. Everybody wants to be a part of what the heritage is of this country. We've repositioned the entire Coast Guard fleet to focus on border and drug interdiction. As we've secured the border, the cartels have gone to the water and are going out in maritime waters to move their drugs into this country. The Coast Guard just in the last 2 months has taken into custody over 126 tons of cocaine, millions of doses of fentanyl. It's just amazing. And the aliens that they are deporting is incredible too. We've been working with all of them. The one thing that I want to point out is the fake news has been saying that Biden deported more people than you. And it's an absolute lie. And they're letting the Biden administration get away with manipulating and cooking the books. What they're counting for the Biden administration is every single person that came to that border that they processed and let into this country. They're allowing Biden to say that was a deportation just by processing somebody and letting them come into the country. It's absolutely false. It's not true at all. You have deported over 250 known terrorists. You've deported thousands of foreign terrorist organization members and gang members, hundreds of thousands of people that were in this country illegally. We've collected $30 billion worth of tariffs through CBP, and we've also collected millions and millions, hundreds of millions of fines and penalties from people that have overstayed here in this country. So I just want to thank you. You've been
So a little tidbit of information that my homie YJC wanted me to share on stream tonight. If they come to talk about deportation, he wanted me to look up how many people President Barack Obama deported from the United States during his administration. And I just looked it up for the first time, and it's 3 million non-citizens from 2009 to 2016, approximately 3.1 million. That is a lot. That trumps Trump.
A game changer. I want to thank Pete for his leadership at DOD and what they've done. I want to thank Marco for his diplomacy and getting us travel documents into these countries. Mexico has finally come to the table and now is going to take a lot more people that we're able to send back to that country. And the president of Mexico told me, sir, she turned around over 500,000 people in Mexico before they ever reached our border. We should be counting those as deportations because they never even made it to the border because she turned them around because you forced her to. So those are all people that never even came here because they got the message because you were so aggressive. So thank you for what you're doing, and every day we get to get up and do jobs that matter, and we appreciate that.
Tom is doing a great job.
Oh, yeah, Tom's a great messenger for us. He just, yeah, he's hardcore. Yeah, thank you.
He is hardcore.
Yeah, he is.
No question about it.
Okay, guys, that is going to end our update hour. We'll eventually get around to finishing this cabinet meeting. I'm just going to use it on the tail end of some of my streams. Appreciate all you guys for coming through tonight. We had a pretty good stream. I want to do something a little different after this. In about 15 minutes, I'm going to go live again, and we're going to be playing some retro games. Actually, Final Fantasy 1. We're going to be trying to finish that. So if that's your type of thing, hit that subscribe button. Stick around, and I hope I see you guys later.